order. Is there any declaration of peculiar interest or general nature thereof from members of council? Seeing none. We just have one delegation for our meeting tonight, and that's at 7:05. And that's in regard to the waste and recycling collection options. That's an individual that from 30 to 15 Napperton Drive that will be doing a presentation. I will note that we're back on the Zoom again because of COVID-19, and hopefully in the near future we'll be able to get together as a group back in our council chamber at some point. That being said, we'll move into the minutes of our previous meeting, and that's June 1st, 2020. Do you have a mover and seconder for those minutes? Okay,
So moved.
Hendricks and Councilor McKinnon. Is there any errors or omissions on those? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. And we did start a little later. Do we want to hop right into that delegation? Is Scott on in the waiting room? We may as well just jump right into the delegation and then we'll move on to the correspondence.
Okay, we'll let him in here.
Excellent. Looks like his audio is connecting. There we go. Perfect. We can see you, Scott. Are you able to see us and hear us? There we go. I think your audio is connected there now. Are you able to see us and hear us, Scott?
Yes, I am. Yep. Took me a minute there.
No, that's okay. We can hear you as well.
Okay,
so welcome to our Zoom council meeting.
Thank you.
It's a little different world than you're used to, and I'm happy you're able to join us today. So we did receive the email and our agenda that you sent to Jennifer not too long ago, and you're here to talk to us about the waste and recycling co-collection system. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for letting me into this meeting here. Yes. So you guys did read my information. And basically, I want to talk about just that, exactly those points. Basically, from what I was told from the clerk at the township, she told me that there was a survey completed and that it was in favor of continuing on with the bagged curbside pickup that we wanted. That was what was gathered from that. I also want to point out as there are neighboring municipalities that do still have bag service through other vendors, such as Wyoming has Marcotte's, Petrolia, where I came from. They use Waste Management. So it's still being done, certainly. And I'm just not sure if the residents' needs were considered in this fact. Were you thinking about a family with 2 kids with diapers in the summertime with every 2 weeks, right? I mean, it's just hard to imagine anybody would want their service reduced. And also the hardest part I have to do is the 50. Yeah, there's a 50% reduction in service, and from what the clerk told me is my taxes aren't going up or down, they're staying the same, but I'm getting reduced service and I have to pay for the bins that I never asked for or didn't want. So it's to me it's a bit of a hard sell for someone that has a 2-week pickup. This new thing, I can't imagine anybody selling this to me as being a good thing. I don't see much benefit on that. I also had difficulty with the BRA itself. All I wanted was a small bin the same size as my garbage, right? Basically, I don't not a fan of the bin idea, which we'll get to later, but they just take up too much space. And clearly the trucks can pick up a bin designed the same bin that the garbage bin is set at, but they're just unwilling to have that level of customer service. I think that us being having a stake in that business, that we should have some pull, and this being a relatively new service that is supposed to be sold to residents, we should be able to get the bins we need. So I would appreciate if we could advocate for just that. And yeah, but back to the bins. I mean, the idea of it, it does take up room in my garage where I do activities. It makes it harder. I've noticed some people, they leave them outside, and that's certainly their preference. For me, seeing them blown over in the wind and garbage blown all over the properties, it's not something I would do. Certainly with all the pests and raccoons as well. And it, to me, like in my property, I think it might maybe look as a bit of an eyesore. And a lot of these problems, such as the wind and everything else, it wouldn't be a problem if I could just put my bag on the side of the road. That being said, yeah, I mean, I don't want to just here to complain, but yeah, I would like to build off of this and just see what we can actually improve. Can we, go as far as, bargaining with the BRA, saying, this vendor can do this vendor can do that, and what the residents actually want and what was in the survey. Can you guys provide this for us, what the residents want? Or can we, if it's too muddled up because we're shareholders, do we need to divest from the BRA to get what we need? Can we, increase garbage pickup? Can we get better bin sizes? The part I have a hard time with is, as far as increasing the garbage pickup, is I feel like or perceived as playing into somebody's hands, right? So we get this new garbage system, our service is reduced by 50%, and you get residents wanting change to weekly. So therefore, we're probably going to get it's a reason to increase taxes, and it's a reason for the BRA to get more revenue, right? But personally, I see it as my taxes have increased because I'm getting, even though I'm paying the same, I'm getting the 50% less. So I'm not happy with that. I feel like a bit of getting played a little bit there. But I would still like to see weekly garbage pickup for us in the community. And that being said, I just like to, I'm a busy father, young kids, busy job. I don't, not sure if it's practical for me to sit in every council meeting, but how do I get this information? Like, was it maybe because I'm a relatively newcomer as well, that maybe the information that you guys were going to switch this up was spread to the residents? I'm not really sure. It's possible that I might have missed something, but to someone is a busy person, like, how can we improve community consultation and information sharing, and how can we make sure that from that the residents' needs are being met? I mean, I know it would be a big challenge, but I'm interested in see what kind of solutions we could come up with on that. And I just wanted to say that, and like I'm not even sure what the decision-making process was like. To be, maybe were the other options that much worse than this option? Were any options explored? Was this option sought out and we could have just left the present garbage arrangement? I'm not sure. but would like to see some things improve in that regard. But that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much. A lot of information, a lot of questions. I'll start off by kind of trying to answer some of them, and then I'll have Deputy Mayor Hendricks. She sits on the Blue Water Recycling board, so she can likely speak to the reason why Blue Water Recycling switched from the garbage pickup, the bags, to the actual bin size. And then I'll have Jennifer, our clerk, kind of cover off some of those costs, because I don't know them off the top of my head.
Sure.
So you mentioned that we completed that survey, and that was done some time ago. And in that survey, the majority, if you look at the numbers only, the majority of the residents actually wanted to switch to the wheelie bin system. But if you look specifically at the comments, I would say probably 90% of the comments were negative towards them. So you're right in the fact that the majority of residents that actually commented did not want to switch. But if you look specifically at the numbers, the majority of residents did want to switch over.
Okay.
And then with the communication point, I fully agree with you. We're looking at different ways to communicate out to the residents, because right now, a lot of the information is put onto the website. We also have our Facebook page where we have information out there, but not everybody has Facebook, and not everybody has time to look at our website. So we are looking at some different strategies for communication, whether that is, I know some other municipalities have systems where they email out to residents, so you can sign up to an email subscriber list. So that could be something that we could look into, so to add to that communication point.
I like that idea.
So, and those are all things that, they take time, but things that I agree we need to be looking at them. We've also talked about doing a news release after each council meeting like a council brief. So like having those highlights that happen after the meeting and putting them on the website and on Facebook. So then you don't have to be watching, the live stream council meeting, or looking at the agenda. That way you just have one pager that kind of was an overview as to what we've done at that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Hendricks, you want to kind of address the rationale from Blue Water Recycling as to why they went from the regular curbside bag pickup to the wheelie bin system.
Okay. Hi, Scott.
Hello.
Hi. I'll start off by clearing up a couple things. Although we're members of Blue Water, we don't actually own shares, so there's no capital to get back if we decide to leave the association.
Mm-hmm.
Just off the top. So,
okay,
and the rationale for going to the wheelie bins was really cost. So it saves Blue Water a lot of money to do the automatic, because they can have one person in the truck. They've, where other townships have gone to wheelie bins, they've reduced their workplace injuries. There's instead of two people in a truck, there's one person, and he's just operating buttons to unload the bins. And I guess the reason for the size of the large bin is basically because we want to encourage recycling, because it costs a lot of money. Our budget has a pretty substantial number to run the landfills, and they're filling up. We've filled one up already, and the other one has only got a limited lifespan left to it. So, we have to pay to bring our garbage to other dumps in that case. But if we were going to continue with bags, and we were one of 3 townships that resisted the bins. Every other township that's a member does have the wheelie bins for a few years already. Most say they start with complaints and they end, but they were going to substantially reduce our cost for having to, because they're not replacing those trucks that can hold, that they can throw the bags on and dump the bins in. So I guess that's the information I have from Blue Water. If you have any questions, shoot them out.
Sure.
And then before we move on, Scott, I'm going to ask
Sure.
Jennifer to kind of go over some of those costs. So the one thing, and hopefully, Jennifer, you have some of those numbers in front of you, but the main thing is that a lot of residents, they haven't realized that in the past that the $2 bag tag fee did not actually cover the cost of the garbage and recycling pickup and the disposal of that. So as much as residents were paying the bag tag fee, they were also paying a large percentage of the disposal cost through their general property taxes. So hopefully, Jennifer, you'll have some of that information offhand.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Smith. Hi, Scott. Nice to put a
Hello.
face to your name.
You too.
So in 2019, the cost of garbage and recycling service was approximately $136,609. And the township generated $40,000 revenue just from the tags. So the difference is $96,609, and that's spread between 1,100 households, because when Blue Water Recycling bills us, they bill us per household. So whether you use the curbside pickup or not, which we do have some residents that don't use curbside pickup, they're still paying. You don't see these costs on the tax bill because it's just built into the municipal levy. Council chose this year, going with the wheelie bin, to put the new automated collection system as a line item on your tax bill. So you'll see that coming out in the final tax bill. For those that are on bi-weekly, it'll be whatever the cost of the bin, which I believe started at $50. I don't have that rate in front of me. And if you were weekly, there was an additional $50 that went on because the Kerwood and fringe area of Strathroy Caradoc, they are on weekly pickup. So for 2020, the costs to the township works out to be, if we stayed with the bag tag system, it was going to be more than double at an approximate cost of $193,695 to the taxpayer. So you're going from $96,000 to $193,000. That would have to be spread out between the 1,100 households. And that's partly to do, as Deputy Mayor Hendricks alluded to, Blue Water Recycling is getting out of the curbside pickup because it's tough to maintain their fleet that they have to do that. They only have 1 or 2 trucks that can do that. And it's becoming a top cost burden to them for that. So if they go to the wheelie bin program where they have an arm, it's less manpower because it's 1 person that operates the vehicle versus 2 people, 1 to drive and 1 to pick up the garbage. So there's quite a increase if we stayed with the old program of approximately $97,000 that we would have had to pay if we stayed with the current bag tag pickup curbside option. So back in November 4th of 2019 was when the report was first brought to council. And December 2nd, council went over more of the information, and we actually had Francis from Blue Water Recycling, who's the president, come out and talk to council at that meeting. And then it was at the following council meeting in December where council made the decision to go with the wheelie bin program because it was a cheaper option at that time. It's tough when you look at the servicing area for Blue Water Recycling. They pretty much encompass all around us except for Southwest Middlesex, who has waste management. So we don't really have a lot of options as far as other contractors. If you were to get another contractor for them to come to us, because we're mainly rural, you're going to be looking at more costs or much the same if you stayed with the bag tag system. So at that time, council thought because of the cost increase, it was best to go with the wheelie bin program, as the fleet that Blue Water Recycling has is being phased out for curbside pickup. I can send this to you via email, all this information if you want. I have it readily available because I've had to send this out two other times to a couple other residents that were inquiring when all the decisions came in with all the numbers. So I'm more than happy to send this all to you. So then you have it with your stuff.
No, that's quite all right. I guess with that, I mean, Blue Water obviously priced it because they didn't want to continue it anymore. But did you actually get prices from like Waste Management? I know you said it would be a little bit more than the current system, but did you get any prices for Marcotte or Waste Management or anything like that?
No, so to do that, we'd have to go through a request for proposal, and that takes a lot of time to go through. I have contacted Marcotte in the past because I'm from Wyoming, so I have Marcotte. Wyoming has the bins, but former Plimpton does not. They still have the bag pickup because the bin program for Wyoming was pre-amalgamation from 1999. And back then those bins were $72 per bin, and there was 3 bins. So when you think about $72 per bin and what we're being charged here, we don't have revenue to offset the cost of the bins either. So that's another thing that we had to think about. We don't have like the bag tag system to offset that revenue. So no, an RFP was not done. Council could have chose to do that. In our procedural bylaw or procurement policy, sorry, council also has the option to waive the RFP if they choose to. And given that we're already with Blue Water Recycling and they pretty much encompass around us except for Waste Management, that wasn't an option that council looked at the time.
Okay. All right. That being said, yeah, the only other question I have is I understand that you want to encourage people to recycle, and certainly the residents do have their choices on bin sizing, except for the smaller bin size. So I don't know. I think that's a bit of a balancing act. Certainly, it's basically that you got to put a different color lid on it. I don't see the problem with that. I'd hopefully I would like to things change where we could get a smaller bin and at least weekly pickup, and that's about it. But yeah, what you just talked about, Jennifer, it definitely would play into. It would be great to have that extra communication while it's going, like what the mayor was saying there. That would be fantastic if we set it up and we kind of can decide on things together, and hopefully we can see that in the future. And yeah, I certainly hope that we change to weekly service, because this is just not practical for me at all. And that's about all I have to say.
I can, oh, sorry, Mary.
Go ahead, Jennifer, you were going to say something?
So July 5th, there is a report that is coming back to council, because what will happen is for the month of June, that'll give the north side of Adelaide Metcalfe and the south side of Adelaide Metcalfe, they'll each have 2 weeks with the collection. So that's going to give council an idea of how the program is going. There could be things that we might be able to tweak. It'll be a conversation that we'll have to have with Blue Water Recycling. But you can watch for that report to come to the July 5th council meeting.
Sure.
Perfect. I was just going to mention that as well, Jennifer. You're not the only resident that has asked us for how it was determined where the weekly pickup was and the biweekly pickup, and the decision of council. It's not the decision going forward. It was the decision that we made, and we need to look at things down the line, but we also need to be able to see how things are working, and with anything that changes, there's an adjustment period. So Definitely. We'll see what that report says in July, and we'll see if council has a thought of if we want to change what the process was, what the decision was. But with that, before you go, is there any other member of council wanting to ask any questions or have any comments? I don't see anyone else jumping up and down. So thank you so much for coming in and taking the time out of your day. And like Jennifer said, take a look at the July 5th. Is that the right date?
Yep.
Agenda to see that report.
Okay, sure. And thank you guys for your time as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Take care.
See you, Scott.
Okay, so with that, We'll jump into the correspondence. Our next regular meeting, sorry, I was just looking at the date and it was June and it didn't make any sense to me, but I remembered we have our closed session meeting, which is going to be on Wednesday of this week, June 17th. And then our next regular meeting is July 6th is what it says, Jennifer.
Yeah, because I keep getting those two dates mixed up for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Let's send an email off to Scott. So it's actually July
5th.
And then we also have scheduled right now our July 20th meeting as well. So we have our recommended readings. The first one is correspondence number 1 is from the 4 counties health services, and it's the spring letter.
Foundation Board.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to figure out, I read it earlier today, but I couldn't remember what the acronym was. There's too many of those. The next one is from OPP, and it's the Revenue Distribution Process Change, non-contracts. Next section there is action required. Number 3 is from Perth South, and it's a resolution regarding the provincially significant wetlands designation. Councilor McKinnon?
I'm in support of this. Living next to Mosa Township, which has a very large ANSI area, an area of scientific interest, that was fought by the farmers for a long time because there wasn't a lot of field work done. So I'm completely in agreement with the suggestion that they have to do their homework if they're going to designate and increase these provincial significant wetlands.
Okay, so you'd like to move that?
I'll move that.
Okay. And Deputy Mayor Hendricks, would you like to second that, or you have a question?
Yes. Yep. No, I agree.
Okay, is there any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and then item number 4 is from Brantford, and it's a resolution for Essential Workers Day, which was March 17th. Deputy Mayor Hendricks?
I move to file, and if you ask me why, I can probably talk for half an hour on it.
Yeah. And I'll back Deputy Mayor Hendricks on the file.
Okay, is there any other members of council that have any thoughts if you want to move it or not? Seeing none, okay. We'll move into item number 5, which is from Orangeville, and it's a resolution regarding diversity training program. All right, so we have our correspondence, and we get a motion to resolve that council receive and file correspondence items CC 1, 2, and 4, and 5. Councilor Hendricks and Councilor Clark, all those in favor, and that's carried. All right. So we'll move into our staff reports, and our first one is from our Public Works Manager, Coulter, and you're on the telephone again because we need to increase our internet speed out in the rural areas of Middlesex County. Coulter.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Yes, that wouldn't hurt. I just have one report tonight on sidewalk winter maintenance. Council passed the construction of these sidewalks on Napperton Drive and Pike Road for the 2020 season. Doing this, the municipality will need a winter maintenance program for sidewalks in that area. With the director from council, I was in contact with the director of public works from Strathroy-Caradoc about the possibility of an agreement to extend their sidewalk winter maintenance route to accommodate the newly constructed sidewalks in Adelaide Metcalfe. After careful consideration, Strathroy-Caradoc is not in a position to assist with taking on an extension of works beyond their borders as a regular service. The township has a few options to undertake these challenges with the winter maintenance on sidewalks. The first option is to hire a contractor to maintain both Kerwood and Napperton Pike sidewalks, which will not be an easy or inexpensive task as there will be loading and unloading of machinery regularly. The second option would be to use our own resources to maintain both locations, which then means purchasing our own sidewalk plow unit and trailer, as well as hiring extra personnel to operate such equipment. The financial impact for option 1 would vary depending on how extreme the winter is. The estimated cost will be around $20,000. This will be reflected under the winter maintenance portion of the budget. The financial impact for option number 2 would be estimated at $80,000 for the initial cost of equipment. That would be a used sidewalk plow and a new trailer, plus the hiring of a part-time employee to carry out the duties of the sidewalk winter maintenance. Startup costs for the winter would be estimated at $110,000. It's just something that council should start thinking about as we do start moving into more construction of sidewalks. I know there's a kind of a 3-year plan that council's talked about with moving forward on constructing sidewalks in the Strathroy area. So it's definitely something that we should be considering for the years to come.
Perfect. Thank you, Coulter. Is there any questions from members of council? Yeah, Councillor Brody.
So will we be up to speed on, will these new sidewalks be done by for this winter? I know the tires have gone. That's going to happen. They will be? Okay. I would think we should look at, even for a year or so, try to get a contract with somebody to maybe do it. We should look at that. We had one company last year, maybe approach them and just see if it's an idea or not. And buying our own stuff right away. But we should be asking sooner than later, because if we have to buy our own, we need to be prepared.
Yes, that's definitely why I wanted to bring it to council now. So you guys could kind of direct staff on which way to go on this one.
One more comment. Like, I know in Kerwood, he used just a blade that he had on a tractor, which might not be just perfect for the size of the sidewalk. I think it was a little bit big. So we need to be very careful on what we say needs to be used, because we can't have any sod being ripped up and that kind of things, right? And especially in that edge of town.
No, for sure, Councillor Brody. It was just kind of a last minute thing last year. I know after we redid the sidewalks in Kerwood, we kind of had to push forward on maintaining them. So he was kind of not last resort, but it was nice of him to step up and be able to maintain them for us. Yes, and going forward, we are looking at a different unit, as well as it will need to be salted. And he kind of did that by hand.
Okay. Is there any other questions or council? Councillor Clark?
Yes, if I might add to Mike's comment about the Kerwood sidewalks, some days weren't getting done till 3:30 and 4 in the afternoon. So then the kids were then walking on the road instead of the sidewalk to go down to get on the school bus. And I think part of our focus when we were going down this road of going on this 3-year program for sidewalks was driven by the safety discussion. So if we want the kids on the sidewalks and not on the roads, they're going to have to be plowed in a timely manner, and that should be brought up with whoever we get on contract to do it for the first year.
Yes, and that can certainly be addressed in the RFP or I'm not sure what process we're going through. Yeah, Morgan.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, through you, I think the best bet here would be an RFP of some sort or a tender around minimum maintenance standards for the winter. We could certainly include a number of provisions working with our colleagues across the county to ensure that all the appropriate steps are in place in terms of the contract. Based on the estimate, we might even see a cheaper cost based on a competitive process. So,
okay, is there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, so we have Deputy Mayor Hendricks.
Yeah, I was just going to concur. I see there's a recommendation in the report that we consider hiring a contractor for the coming winter and then look at capital purchases next year. So I think that's useful to use that recommendation.
Perfect. Okay, so we have the two recommendations there. The first one is to receive the report. Okay, Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's carried. And the second one is resolved that council approve the option to hire a contractor to maintain both Kerwood and Napperton and Pike sidewalks for the winter of 2020 to 2021. And that option 2, use of township resources to maintain both locations be incorporated in the 2021 budget, as council has shown interest in constructing new sidewalks in various locations throughout the township. Mover and seconder, Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? That's carried. Sue, perfect. Okay. Yep. Okay, thank you, Coulter.
Mr. Mayor, I'm having internet keeps kicking me out, so I'm not sure what's. I mean, I paid my bill this month, so I'm not really sure why.
Okay. Well, what you agreed to is the two recommendations from Coulter. Okay. Is there any questions at all for Coulter and the Public Works Department? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into our next staff report, and it's our clerks. Jennifer.
Thanks, Mayor Smith. My first report is regarding municipal auditor services for the 2019 fiscal year. Under 296 of the Municipal Act, municipality shall appoint an auditor licensed under the Public Accounting Act. We have not done this for 2019. Back in 2017, we did it for the 2017 fiscal year and 2018 fiscal year, but we have not done that for 2019 fiscal year. So in order to keep our records clean going forward, and because the process has basically been started with Graham Scott Inns, who's our municipal auditor now, I'm asking council to go ahead and approve them for the 2019 fiscal year, and that we go to RFP tender process for fiscal years 2020, 2021, and 2022. We have not done an RFP process for quite some time. When I look through the records, it appears to go back to 2011 since we've done an RFP process for auditing services.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Is there any questions at all? Okay, so we have the three recommendations there. So we'll go. Sorry, my phone thought I was talking to it. Anyways, well, the first one is to receive the staff report. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councillor Brody. All those in favor? And that's carried. And the second one is to resolve that council appoint Graham Scott Inns as municipal financial auditor for the 2019 fiscal year. Okay, Councillor McKinnon and Councillor Clark. All those in favor? And that's carried. And then the last one there is resolved that staff be directed to move forward with a request for proposal for municipal auditing services for 2020 to 2022 fiscal years as per the township's procurement policy bylaw 4 of 2020. Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor, and that is carried. That was a mouthful and my phone did not help. I'm sorry about that.
My next two reports are in regards to the agreement that we have with Spreets pertaining to the Kerwood Park plan renovation building construction project and the municipal office renovation. So I'll start with Kerwood Park first. Attached, you'll see the agreement that has been submitted by Spreets Associates. There's also a couple of engineered drawings to show you the placement of the building and what they have considered to be inside of those buildings. I sent an email out to council with those two drawings, and I received comments from one councillor. Another councillor the comments I received, they were fine with what was being proposed. So tonight, because there's some questions around the agreement, there's no dollar figure if you look in the agreement as to what it's going to cost for engineering fees from Spreetz Associates. And I would much rather see a dollar figure, as that's how we deal with our budget. Percentages are okay, but I think there needs to be a maximum put in there somehow. Instead of just a percentage. I don't want to see the municipality being taken advantage of if a project's going to be 800,000 and then that means $80,000 you're paying for engineering fees. So I would recommend that we defer this report, and I have emailed it to our township manager, Morgan Calvert, as well as the County of Middlesex engineer, Chris Trainey, to review it. And when they come back with comments, then I can bring it forward back to council for consideration.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Defner Hendricks, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I got a text earlier today from somebody that in the Optimist Club that asked if the concession windows could be a little wider. They thought 6 feet was pretty narrow. But that's the only feedback I had. Otherwise, I was okay with the plans.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brody?
Yeah, I had the same worry and a phone call last night about that. If they could make them maybe 10 feet instead of 6 feet. And it looks like by the drawings there's room, which I agree to that comment. Maybe we can send that in to get that changed. And then the only other thing I didn't really get on the map is actually the size of the pavilion coming off the side of the building. It doesn't have the dimensions of it, but that I can see.
I went by I noticed that too, but it looks about the same size as the previous one if the drawing's done to scale.
Okay, is there any other comments at all? Yeah, Councillor Brody?
Yeah, and then I really like Jen's comment about Spreetz being this 10% stuff of a thing seems pretty high to me. I think we need to be looking at a pure quote and maybe some other quotes sometimes, because that seems very, very high to me of the total cost of a project just for an engineering fee. So I think we need to do a better job here on that part. Just if you think about the sidewalks that time, and that was a lot of money difference.
Very true. Is there any other comments or questions at all? Okay, so we have the recommendation there. Do you want to have both motions, or do you want to go on to the next one as well?
I can go on to the next one because they're both to defer, and then
Yep.
council can do 2 separate motions if they don't mind.
Yep.
So again, the other report that I have there, I don't have any drawings for the municipal office, but as you can see, there's been meetings with staff and including staff within the Middlesex County Servicing Agreement. And again, I have questions in regards to the 10% of the cost. We don't know what the cost of the renovation project is going to be, but if it's going to be $1 million, then you're going to be at 100,000 for engineering costs. So I'd much rather see a dollar figure in there to cap it. We operate our budget with estimates, and if we don't end up with tenders that are within that budgeted estimate that council's approved, I don't see how we're going to move forward with any of these projects if we're just working with percentages. I think we need a confirmed number, and that will help staff and council be able to drive both of these projects going forward.
Okay, any questions or comments on this? Councillor Brody?
Yeah, I just really like to see both of these projects moving forward sooner than later. So hopefully that's something that won't drag this out another month or more, but I agree with getting a firm engineering quote compared to a percentage.
Yep. Okay. Is there anything additional, Jennifer?
Not based on those, although I can let council know that there was 11,500 that was budgeted for the engineering costs for the office renovations, and we have expensed that already. And that's without coming back with drawings that would better suit, because the original drawings that came in, if council remembers, there was not enough office spaces when you count the amount of staff people that we're going to have or do have. So at the meeting in May, it was discussed with Spreets that we definitely need more office space, a boardroom. We just don't have enough office spaces for the amount of staff that's here and the amount of staff that's going to be here. As we've got one new staff member coming next week and we have one return coming next week. And trying to keep COVID-19 in mind for health and safety of the employees. So.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. So we have the two recommendations there, and they're both to defer until senior staff has reviewed the agreement to provide comments. So we'll have a motion for the first one, which is the Kerwood Park, and that's to defer. Okay, Councilor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor? That's carried. And the second one's to defer the municipal office agreement until senior staff has a time to review that. Councilor Clark and Councilor McKinnon, all those in favor? And that's carried.
My next report is regarding the Municipal Modernization Program Intake 1, expression of interest. So there's a little bit of background information there pertaining to this grant. An expression of interest was submitted last year for review of fire services delivery within the Township of Adelaide Metcalfe. And the township was successful in gaining or obtaining a $35,000 grant towards that project. It's been determined that the fire service delivery review is not required at this time, and probably what might be better suited is a financial services review. So in order to move those funds, which Morgan has been working hard at trying to get moved over, Morgan's been in contact with the ministry. So in order for that to happen, we have to submit a new expression of interest, which is attached for council's review. And I just need council's approval for the 3 recommendations that I have there.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Morgan, do you have anything you want to add?
Jen captured it pretty well. We don't, since the money has already been allocated to some form of a service delivery review for the township, we didn't want to leave the money on the table. So thankfully the province was able to provide us at least a process to rescope the project. It's still pending minister approval, of course. But at least we're able to resubmit a new expression of interest for a financial services review rather than a fire services review. We believe that this would be of greater benefit to the township beyond a fire services review.
Perfect. Thank you, Morgan. Is there any questions at all? Okay, seeing none. So the first motion there is to receive the report. Okay, Councilor Brody and Deputy Mayor Hendricks, all those in favor? And that's carried. And the second motion there is to direct staff to transfer the $35,000 from municipal modernization program funds from a fire services review to a financial services review. Okay, Councilor McKinnon and Councilor Brody, all those in favor? And that's carried. The last one there is to resolve the council direct staff to submit the expression of interest for the municipal modernization program intake 1 as presented by the acting clerk, acting treasurer, and township manager. And that's Deputy Mayor Hendricks and Councilor Brody, all those in favor, and that's carried.
And my last report for tonight is the accounts payable listing from May 29th to June 12th. There's the amount is $579,217.08. And just to give a little bit of background, it's because of the education levies that are due. So that's why there's such an increase in this payable for this 2-week period. And as you can see, out of the 579,000, 10 of those are checks, 13 is pre-authorized payment, and 26 of those are electronic funds transfer.
Perfect, Jennifer. Is there any questions at all on the accounts? Okay, seeing none, we need a motion to resolve the council to receive the invoice payment approval report as presented by the clerk acting treasurer, and that council approve the account listings for the period of May 29th, 2020 to June 12th, 2020 in the amount of $579,217.08. Council Clark and Councilor Brody, all those in favor, and that is carried. Okay, perfect. So that's the last of our staff report. We'll go into other business. Is there anything else you would like to bring up? Councilor Brody?
I missed the last meeting, and maybe this was brought up because I haven't even had a chance to watch it on TV or anything. But how do we ever make out with a part-time student for the dump? Do we ever get any response for that?
Through Mayor Smith to you, Councillor Brody, we got no responses for the student landfill position. So I've been in conversations with Jessica Nye, who's the HR County Middlesex, and we revamped the job opening to be a permanent part-time for 2 days a month, and for December, January, February is 1 day a month. And we have received a couple of resumes so far. That closes this Friday. So the Public Works Manager and myself will review those on Monday.
Morgan?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add to Jen's analysis there, we basically removed the word student landfill operator and made it more generic just to cast a wider net. We didn't want to funnel directly to students, but there are retired folks or other individuals that might be interested in some part-time work. So
yeah, agree.
Perfect. Okay, is there any other questions at all? Yep, Councilor Brody.
Through the mayor, what were we down for August meetings again? Did we have that kind of set or not?
Through you, Mayor Smith, to Councillor Brody. So we did approve, or council did approve, the schedule for June, July, and August. So August meetings will be Tuesday, August 4th and Monday, August 17th.
Okay, that's good. I'm not on the 24th. That's what I was just checking. Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else for other business? Seeing none, I just want to make a note. I did receive a thank you email from an individual that sent an email before about the Fourth Line Cemetery. So I think it was a few weeks ago. There was some extra grass around the tombstones and we realized that the contractor that we had some equipment issues, and then was able to get those fixed up. He did email back the resident to let us know that everything looks great. And I also just want to make a comment that I think the contractor that we have for grass cutting right now is doing an excellent job. I don't know if anybody's gone through the village of Kerwood recently or have gone by any of our municipal properties, but it looks excellent. And it's really too bad that COVID-19 is happening right now, because I know every year at the beginning of June with the Optimus Club having the baseball tournament, there's always the topic of grass and everything else. And I honestly think this is the year that the grass looks great. And it's really unfortunate that all the Optimus Club members and all the people that attend that event wasn't able to see how good it looks. But hopefully we'll be all set for next year. So I just wanted to make that comment. And then, yep, Councillor McKinnon.
Just a comment through you, Mayor Curtis, to Morgan. we were discussing blue water recycling and the accessibility problem. There's a ratepayer out at this end of the township that can't get his wheelie bin down to the road. He's in a wheelchair. So Morgan will be addressing that and reaching out to Blue Water Recycling to see what can be done for that ratepayer.
Morgan?
And Mr. Mayor, through you to council, we're also going to tackle a couple more complaints that we received through the BRA too. So I believe, Jen, we're going to bring that report back on July 5th or July 6th, actually.
It's
correct?
July 5th. I keep saying the 6th because that's actually our pickup date. So when I have my Blue Water Recycling counter right in front of me, it's the highlighted date. It's the wrong date. It's the 5th.
So yeah, we'll certainly be working with the BRA to address some of those questions and complaints, and we'll get back to you.
Council meeting's July 6th.
Yeah.
It's a Monday.
Yes.
Oh, I know. I'm looking at 2021.
Oh, always
Way
just
ahead of us.
2021.
Oh, I'm just trying to be proactive.
Exactly. Oh gosh. Okay. And if there's any other questions that we want answered about the Blue Water Recycling and the pickup and all that kind of stuff, just send it off to who do you want to send it to, Morgan or Jennifer?
Yeah,
You
send
can
it to
send it to me. Yep, that's fine.
Perfect. And anybody at home that's watching as well, if you have any questions at all for the Blue Water Recycling pickup and that whole system, send them in so we can get those addressed in the council report from staff. Perfect. So seeing nobody else throwing their hand up for other business, we will go to our bylaws. We have one bylaw on that list that we're going to defer until Wednesday's meeting, and that's bylaw number 33, sorry, of 2020, and it's the site plan agreement for 1584 Melwood Drive, Creekside Egg Company, and Anna Sanders and Gerald Sanders to be deferred till June 17, 2020 council meeting. Mover and seconder.
I moved.
Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Deputy Mayor Hendricks. Sue, are you still there? There we go. We were seeing the other camera. There we go. So all those in favor? And that's carried. And then we do have the rest of the bylaws there, which is resolved that all three readings be given to bylaw number 32 of 2020, appoint municipal auditor. Bylaw number 34, 2020, amend procedural bylaw, the electronic planning meetings. And finally, bylaw number 35 of 2020, confirm council proceedings, and that the bylaws be signed by the mayor and clerk and the corporate seal be attached. Councillor McKinnon and Deputy Mayor Hendricks. All those in favor? And that's carried.
In favor.
Still with us?
Yeah, you hear me or no?
I can hear you. You can make the motion to adjourn at 8:01.
Okay, there we go. A motion to adjourn.
Okay, and the seconder. Councillor McKinnon, all those in favor? And that's carried. The sooner we can get back in person, the better, I think. Excellent. Thank you so much for everybody's